What's happening, everybody? Welcome to episode 315 of the F and Marks podcast. Lots to get into this week, but make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms at the FNMARKS. That is the F and Marks. Soon the Brainless One will be joining me on the podcast where we're going to discuss Night of Champions. We're going to talk Double or Nothing. We're going to talk about Champions Crowned, new titles coming into new hands. We have some happy news from various people in WWE and AEW and all sorts of things going on. Really excited to get into all this with the Brainless One, and he will be here in a moment. Yeah. How you doing, Chris Brown? Happy Friday evening. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's up, Cousin Jay?
You know, chilling, keeping it real, that sort of thing. My voice is a little hoarse. I don't think I'm sick. I had some allergies and I feel completely fine, but my voice sounds kind of like crap. So, yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Could always be worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah?
You know what was worse? I went to Connecticut over the weekend only to find out J. Timothy's was closed when I tried to go there.
Now you know what I went through that time when I went home and they were closed.
Sad. I ended up going right down the street to Sliders, and that was fine. Tim was there.
But I mean, Jay, that's like that's like going from Steve Austin to Kurt Angle.
That very true. The
And that
wings were Sliders.
oh yeah, the slider wings are always good, and it's always good whenever you get to bump into an F and Marks Hall of Famer too.
Yes. Jessica, how you doing? Hey, I'm hanging in there. Looks like the Brainless One's hanging in there with his shirt.
Yeah.
So
I lost my pen and I don't know where the hell it went.
very sad. So Brainless One, where do you want to start this week?
First of all, I just have to mention one thing, and then I have a very interesting question that I want to ask you that crossed my mind before the show started. But the first thing I want to mention is I need to say congratulations to you because you had a perfect Double or Nothing card.
I'm on fire.
And on top of that, at Night of Champions, you only got one match wrong, and it was probably the only match that everybody on planet Earth got wrong.
There was one person who got it right that I know of. Chris Brown. Chris Brown called it.
So, Jay, that means for the last 3 wrestling pay-per-views, you've only had one bad prediction over just total. That's incredible.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to have to start calling you Jay Stradamus.
Well, I mean, think about it. Was it last week's show where I talked about, hey, Goldberg's doing this thing. The only person really out there that's like a free agent that would be a big name would be Ryback.
Oh.
What the hell happens this week?
Oop.
I just mentioned it. Nope. And the whole thing just...
Yeah. Honestly, that's... Ryback came out and he said he challenges Goldberg in a retirement match.
So, you know, Ryback lives in Las Vegas. I mean, there could be a big thing there. You know, they could do it wherever, but as far as match quality, I think the quality of this match would be somewhere between Great Khali and Nails. Bill Goldberg versus The Undertaker, or yeah, I think that's about it.
Well, you forgot about shit. No, I got to think about that.
Well, I mean, we could say, you know, something as good as the African Championship in the Potter O'Connor Memorial Tournament from Clash 13, where we had Sergeant DeClerc and, or was it Colonel DeClerc? I don't know, but they went against the Botswana Beast and Kalua in the finals.
I mentioned it when I did my recap. The fact that they called him the Botswana Beast, and when they introduced him, they were from Africa, and it was the Beast and Kalua, and then in the screen it was the Botswana. I'm like, so what is it? So clearly he's the Botswana Beast. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But again, congratulations on another perfect card and almost a flawless weekend of predictions.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one question before we get into everything else. I was talking about it with Brainless Wife earlier this week, and her and I discussed it, and I wanted to ask you, with what happened at Night of Champions in the main event,
yes,
with the fact that we're running a kind of parallel storyline with Cody, we have two active stories going on that need to be finished with the same outcome. Whose story gets finished first? Cody or Jey Uso? And a follow-up question, is there any way that you can pull it off where they both can have their roses?
I'm going to say you can't pull it off where they both get it. But I think when you're looking at the list of challengers for Roman and who makes sense, you know, you can now make a case for Roman wanting to go against Jey Uso. And that will give more time to whether they want to build somebody else up or you know, technically you could go back to Sami Zayn if you wanted to, even though he's a tag team champion at this moment. But it seems like Jey Uso is going to be the way to go, but I don't think this is going to be like one of those quick things where, like, next thing you know, like, Jey Uso is like, you know, that they've kind of mapped out Roman's, I think, next 10 times he's showing up, and I think two of them are actually house shows.
Okay.
But he's going to be on a lot of SmackDowns from now until SummerSlam. And he's going to be at Money in the Bank. So there's quite a bit of story that they could get into there. And with how long the Bloodline storyline's been going on, with the fact that Jay was very hesitant to, you know, take, you know, the head of the table's hand, tribal chief, and now slowly but surely, you know, that's withering away. And his brother, who was away with injury, who came back, and even when he came, you weren't sure where his loyalties were.
Right.
You know, and I think, though, Cody Rhodes is the only one that will be able to kind of stamp that ticket as far as, like, completing the task. I just don't think Jay at this point is like a big enough star, at least within WWE realm that they feel like they could put the title on him.
Right.
So along those lines, Cody Rhodes apparently his merch has been selling like crazy. The only time it sounds like he's been outsold was when John Cena showed up at Monday Night Raw.
Wow.
So, I know Vince loves checking the like who are people taking out their money to buy their paraphernalia so they could wear it out there.
Right.
Well, Cody Rhodes has been a top seller for a little while now, and if he keeps that up, the fact that he's in a high-profile thing with Brock Lesnar right now ain't hurting him. So I think it's going to end up being Cody who ends up getting this at some point, and I think the stuff with Jimmy and Jay is going to play out, but it's going to be part of the thing that gets Roman, to WrestleMania next year, still having the title. And one of the things I did predict last week was the implosion of the Bloodline. We're not 100% sure what's going on with Solo, whether he's going to be with his brothers or whether he's going to be with Roman. But what I was saying last week is I believe like the next thing to showcase Roman's dominance is that he can win without them, because almost every time he's won, he's needed some assistance in some way, shape, or form. So if he could win without them, even if it's just with the wise man, wise man, occasionally pulls a leg or what have you, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so Tim went to Raw on Monday, and home of the Hartford Whalers, and yeah.
My thing is
making his first televised, championship defense.
Is it just me, or I'm probably crazy to think this, but it does seem like whenever they go to Hartford, something crazy happens.
I think they like the idea of doing something for the home state of their company.
Right.
Just like I think to an extent, what they did at Night of Champions by having the title change with Bianca. It was like, we're in Saudi Arabia. This would be a big deal.
Right. Oh, I agree.
So, I think there's a little bit of that. As much as Vince McMahon doesn't like people to win in their hometowns, Vince McMahon does like to do things for his home state. So
that is true. But to go to back to the whole Cody Jey Uso, who gets the end of the story, I do think that Cody should be the one that ultimately takes the championship from Roman, because this is his story. He's been telling it a little bit longer. I know that the whole Bloodline storyline has been just incredible the last couple of years. It is compelling television.
yeah.
But as much as I want to see Jey Uso, and I really would like to see Jey Uso be the one that gets it, because Roman's reign has been incredible, but Jey Uso has been the unsung hero of this entire thing for the Bloodline. He has been the absolute wild card, because you remember he didn't want Sami in, he didn't trust Sami, then he trusted Sami. He kind of got his brother Jimmy into this thing. I mean, he lost like
Usi.
Yeah, it wasn't very Usi. And it just, as great as it's been for Roman, I've been watching Jey Uso this whole time because I've been wanting to know what's going to happen with him, because he is the biggest, like, I don't know, like question mark. He's the biggest asset to this thing, because he plays the biggest role behind Roman to what's going to eventually happen. because whatever happens with the bloodline, whether it crumbles or implodes or whatever, Jey Uso is going to be the catalyst for this because he was the first one in the bloodline. Then he brought in Jimmy, and then the elders brought Solo. I feel like Jey Uso needs to have the. I feel like he should have it, but like part of me's like I really Cody should be the one to win the championship is what I'm saying.
Sure.
I don't know how you can get it with Jey Uso beating Roman without losing the championship because that would just be silly to have a guy who's been champion for over 1,000 days losing a non-title match.
Right.
So
Makes sense.
Exactly. So I don't like. Is there like do they do the Cody thing where he wins the championship, and then Jay has his comeuppance and like he gets his moment, or do you think like the implosion of the? I mean, the only thing I could think of is like if they implode the whole bloodline and they just all just beat up on Roman, and then adrenaline in your souls, and Cody Rhodes comes out with that briefcase, whoa, and he wins. That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
But
there are a lot of ways they could do it to Mike Rainey is suggesting that maybe at some point they're trying to make Roman a super baby face, going from the kind of head heel, although like I put him as the cool heel because he gets an awful lot of cheers. So if they go with him and have him become babyface, I think in the end what he'll have to do is he'll have to probably like punch out Paul Heyman and do something like that to like more or less rid himself of everything that was to become something new. And Chris Brown, I don't think he would turn into something that was completely hated. I think he's built up way too much goodwill at this point for it to, just implode in their face. I honestly, this is crazy, far out, way off booking. I wouldn't mind, perhaps, at WrestleMania 40, if we don't get The Rock versus Roman, if we do the Cody Roman rematch, if we get a double turn. Cody, has been the good guy who's not been cutting any corners, but he never won the title. But then you sit there and have him finish his story in a way that you would not expect. He's the American nightmare, not the American dream. And he goes and Roman cheated last year and beat me. I'm not going to let that happen to me again. And he ends up cheating, and whether it's Paul Heyman helping him or something else, Cody turns heel as Roman goes babyface. I'm throwing that out now.
Well, I'm going to open up the Vince Russo playbook here, and I'm going to say if you're going to do that, bro, what you need to do is Solo needs to come into the match at the end and spike Roman to help Cody win, bro.
Another thing, Rikishi did come out after everything went down and said a few things on Twitter. I'm wondering if he's going to be part of this 1,000-day celebration thing they're doing tonight, because that's generally when they'll bring other folks in. So I'm wondering if he'll be part of this, and it sounded like he kind of sided more with Roman than with his son. But I guess we shall see.
I'm going to pop like I did when Carlito came out at Backlash when Rikishi comes out. I've always appreciated Rikishi, and I always love seeing him when he comes out.
Will he get Roman to do the Too Cool dance?
That would be great. And they somehow get Scotty 2 Hotty back.
You know what, though? Roman, though, will probably do that face where it looks like he smelled a bad fart.
Hey, at least it wasn't the look on his face when somebody stole his cupcake. I,
Rain says LA Knight wins the briefcase. Yeah.
yeah, I'd love to see it. And him and Montez Ford tonight in the Money in the Bank qualifying match is going to be a good one. That's going to be I mean, obviously it's probably going to be the match of the night, but I mean, there's not really much competition because it's a 2-hour show, and you're going to need 47 minutes for Roman Reigns to get in the ring.
That's not even counting the segment.
That's
so
just the
talking about how well Cody has been selling merchandise. You know what other merchandise is selling exceptionally well? LWO. So that might spell more, bigger, brighter things for that revitalized faction. So, I've always been, I thought Legado del Fantasma was a really good faction down in NXT. And I think they're trying to find their way on the main roster, and I think this may be their way forward. I mean, nothing wrong with latching on to, a legend,
no.
WWE Hall of Famer who still performs at a high level. And yeah.
And it doesn't hurt the fact that they have the number one pop singer or whatever performer, Bad Bunny, in their back pocket either.
Yeah.
So.
All right, Tim is asking, is hate more for Kenny Omega or Captain Cupcake?
Oh, Kenny Omega. I hate Kevin Owens for the fact that he is a baby and he can't take criticism, and it was a lighthearted joke that didn't really go out to offend him to have him block somebody on Twitter. But I guess that's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do. Kenny Omega has tried to ruin professional wrestling for everybody. If you have not seen it, and believe me, I am not telling you to go see it, but if you get a chance to and you have 11 minutes of your life that you just want to lose for no apparent reason, go watch him wrestle the blow-up doll. I've seen, and it's crazy, ever since I watched that match, there's so many different other clips of people wrestling this stupid blow-up doll. The thing is a 15-time champion of something. But it's just how a blow-up doll, an inanimate object, can deliver 7 Canadian destroyers to somebody is physically impossible. You know what, Jay? I would rather watch Nails and El Gigante than have to watch Kenny fight the blow-up doll again.
Okay. Speaking of which, have you gotten through any more of the matches on your list?
I have not had a chance to. I'm hoping to get to it this weekend. Also, I'm hoping to get to the Chris Candido Dark Side of the Ring. I've been dashing so much they've been calling me Cody Rhodes.
Good stuff. All right, Mike Rainey, hearing that Drew McIntyre has gone for his U.S. citizenship. So there's been a few things, like rumors out there that maybe WWE Creative and Drew have come to an understanding. Maybe perhaps Drew and WWE are getting closer on him re-signing with the company. Undertaker came out this week and talked about how he doesn't believe we've seen the best of Drew McIntyre yet and thinks that he has 2 more really good runs left in him. That's, and he talked very highly of Drew, which, getting the Undertaker's ringing endorsement is nice. And it sounds like they're trying to get, everything heading in the same direction. As I mentioned several weeks ago, I think I feel Drew is more destined to be a WWE guy. And there were certainly some weeks where it sounded like, oh, he's all but certain to leave, And it's like he wasn't in a bad position. I mean, you could figure out the creative stuff and get that moving in the right direction. I mean, if WWE wants him to turn heel, I'm certain, like, I think right now it would be good to turn him heel. Although the fact that he has been away from, you know, view for a couple of months may have refreshed his character a little bit, the babyface character, if they make some tweaks to it. But I guess we'll find out on the Drew McIntyre front. I can't see why he would become a citizen of the U.S. if he didn't plan on working here.
Right.
On a big basis. He could go to AEW, he could go to Impact, but Impact I don't think could pay him what he would be asking for. And if he goes to AEW, will he be booked right? What will they do with him? Will he end up being, booked like Miro, strong at the beginning and then disappear
the best man.
a year? I'm just saying.
He'll be back on Saturday, June 17th. Don't worry. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Drew. And I know that Money in the Bank's coming up, and they're doing it in England again. So it'd be wise. And the fact that they took him off the promotions for that pay-per-view in his home country was surprising in its own right. That would be the perfect time if you're going to think about turning him heel. Because nobody would see it coming. He'd come out to the thunderous ovation in his hometown, and then he goes out there and claymores Cody Rhodes.
That could be something.
I saw that as a rumor on somewhere online. I don't remember. It's probably Reddit. All I know.
Right.
All Reddit is a bunch of rumors anyway.
Right. Mike Rainey said he just watched the Owen Hart Dark Side of the Ring. Yeah, that's a tough one to get through.
By the way, speaking of Dark Side of the Ring, I happened on their Instagram page earlier this week, right before the debut episode, and they posted the top 10 craziest moments from Dark Side of the Ring. And what do you think was the craziest moment voted by the fans?
I don't know. They've covered an awful lot of stuff that's like pretty. Like I'm gonna go with Herb Abrams.
Herb Abrams, his last coke-driven craze fest that he had was the number one voted thing by the fans of Dark Side of the Ring. Has anybody come out looking better than Herb Abrams and all of this from Dark Side of the Ring?
I'm wondering if Herb Abrams is the basis for the movie Cocaine Bear.
The cocaine fell out of his plane. Oh, that's such good shit. Yeah.
I think it's how it wanted to go.
Hookers and blow.
Have never been spoken.
Thank you, James E. Cornette. And B. Brian Blair.
Oh, yeah. So, anyway.
Jay, I know we were talking about merchandise being pushed out.
Yeah.
There has been rumors of somebody who, in the past, has sold a ton of merchandise returning to WWE for the road to SummerSlam, and that is one Bray Wyatt. To the point where the guy who actually created his Fiend mask said that they're going to have to make a new one for him if he were to come back and go that route. Apparently, people saw it. WWE was very unamused by his match at the Royal Rumble, his Mountain Dew Pitch Black match with a man who is, I've never seen anybody come out more unscathed after wrestling Bray Wyatt than LA Knight. But apparently WWE, yeah, let me talk to you. Yeah. Because if you ain't talking about LA Knight, you ain't talking. Yeah. But apparently they were so turned off by the fact that that match was so horrible that they've been talking about bringing him back as the Fiend. Thoughts?
I don't mind if they bring him back as the Fiend. There's a lot of unfinished Fiend business out there, including against Roman Reigns. If you want to have him come back as the Fiend and feed him to Roman Reigns and have a rivalry with that, make it happen. You've got poor Eric Young, who isn't very young anymore in the wrestling business.
No.
Who's been wasting away since November because they wanted to wait for the right time to introduce him as part of Bray Wyatt's faction. And then Bray went away, whether it's long COVID or something else going on, and we also heard that that was the reason why they've been taking time with Alexa Bliss. And I have an alternate theory also. Now that she officially came out and said that there was an oops, and she is expecting a baby. I have an alternate theory to this. My belief is they had pitched her a Ric Flair dating storyline, and she wanted to do a preemptive strike.
Now, is she going
to extended hiatus because allegedly they were waiting to bring her back with Bray, has kind of led to this. But I'm super happy for Alexa. She sounds pumped and yep, not expected, but psyched about this. And she did offer up some other tidbits about how she recently re-signed with the company, and she's going to start training, right after she gives birth to get back into the ring.
Good for her. I'm happy for her. I'm just glad because now we could put to bed the whole Alexa Bliss being a part of the Wyatt Six, because she's definitely out for at least another year. So she's not going to be a part of it. But congratulations on her and Ryan Cabrera on, having it, she's pregnant. I just want to know how many neckbeards died when she made that announcement. The rivers were overflowing with tears.
Yeah.
I honestly, Jay.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, honestly, with me, I really don't want to see The Fiend back. The Fiend doesn't really do anything. He doesn't. If Triple H feels like he can do a better job at this, whatever the fuck The Fiend was, then power to him. If he thinks he's going to do better than Vince, power to him. But the way that they booked, are you kidding me? He was like The Undertaker and Kane morphed into and came out looking like Mike Rotunda. He was an unstoppable being. How many chair shots did he take from Seth Rollins inside that Hell in a Cell match before the referee called the match? Yeah, the fact that he went through all of that with Seth Rollins and then Randy Orton beat him with one RKO.
Right.
I'm sorry. If he's going to bring any of his characters back from the past, it's got to be Waylon Mercy, Bray Wyatt. The Eater of Worlds, Follow the Buzzards. That was his best version of himself. I know he said he wouldn't do it because that was a Brody thing, but if they're going to bring back something from his past, I'd rather that be it instead of The Fiend. I understand that the reason that they want to bring back The Fiend is because of the merchandise sales.
Right.
But rehatching something from the past, that doesn't always work.
No.
So, but on the flip side, though, The Fiend's better than what he did this last time.
Right. So beyond that, talking about a former Wyatt member and somebody out for a while, one Braun Strowman has let it be known that he had neck fusion surgery. You know, he had been out for about a month, and there was speculation that he might be injured, but he cleared up any speculation, said neck fusion. So Braun is going to be out for a little while, and that explains completely why they immediately moved Ricochet into other things, you know, where they have him in Money in the Bank and had him do singles stuff. So.
Can I just say real quick how happy and excited I am that Ricochet's in the Money in the Bank ladder match? I don't even care who the other 5 participants are going to be for the match, even the person who's going to ultimately win the match, because at the end of the day, Ricochet is going to make that match entertaining. And he's going to bring an aspect to this match that, you know, he's going to have the wow factor of the match. He's going to do something crazy, or he's going to do like a backflip off the top of a ladder that gets taken out, and he's going to land on his feet, and he's going to ta-da, and he's going to juggle, you know, chairs, and, you know, he's going to ride a pony and all this stuff. I'm just...
Him and Logan Paul having some sort of replay or on steroids version of what they did at the Royal Rumble.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. They're going to do it off the top of ladders. And Logan Paul is going to be in the Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
He's not going to be one of the 6 people that is announced, but he's going to show up the night of Money in the Bank. And I got a feeling he might win it.
Yeah.
We'll get into those predictions, you know, once we get closer to Money in the Bank, but I would not be surprised if he was in it and won it.
Mike Rainey, if Alexa is out, I mean, the name that's been floated out there in chat, Nikki Cross can certainly fit the bill of being part of the Wyatt 6. You know, she was Insanity with Eric Young. Eric Young is supposed to be part of whatever Bray has, and I'm sure they'll continue with Uncle Howdy in some way, shape, or form, whether it's going to be as Uncle Howdy or if he comes back as, you know, the Bo Lever.
Yeah?
Yeah!
I'll tell you who it won't be. Vincent and... Oh, what the hell was the other guy's name? The guys that they brought in, they were from Ring of Honor and Impact. It was Vincent and Dutch that they were supposed to bring in. I mean, Vincent looks like freaking Charles Manson, for crying out loud.
Right.
They're in Ring of Honor again. Tony Khan scooped them up.
Well, WWE was on their hiring freeze that they said they weren't having.
Yeah, but the thing was, it was crazy because down in NXT like a few months ago, before the whole thing with the merger, back when there wasn't a hiring freeze, Dutch and Vincent were in the crowd at NXT.
Right.
So clearly they were there for something. I don't know, but they probably had a trial, and I don't know. I don't get it. They looked the part.
But the thing is that even when Vince was talking about, you know, selling the company and coming back to sell the company, I mean, that right then was when, we're not hiring people. So,
but still, they were in tow way before that because they were being discussed back when Eric Young's contract was expiring with Impact. So they were up in discussion at least since Christmas or right at the beginning of the year.
Well, Christmas is right around when Vince came back.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah. He was reinstated in January.
God.
Where he signed a contract, but he strong-armed himself back in, I think, in December. So, yeah.
Can't have anything good.
Speaking of people whose contracts are up soon, Moose, one of the faces of Impact Wrestling. His contract allegedly is up during the month of June. You know, a guy like Moose, you know, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to get out there and see what else is available to him. Would Tony Khan want to scoop him up to be something for Collision? Would WWE want to bring him in, whether it's starting at NXT or bring him in to be just a new face?
Right.
Because it feels like, even though they said that there might be a few minor cuts in the WWE roster before July 1st, you know, I think we're going to start seeing some people sign with WWE.
Yeah. I think so too. I'm curious to see who gets cut. Because if it's not Von Wagner, I have no idea who the hell they're cutting.
Your favorite, Joe Gacy?
That's the wife's favorite.
Right.
Price Right, Bray Wyatt. That's what he is.
Right.
You find him in the clearance section at Kmart.
Don't exist anymore.
No, but there's an old Kmart building over on over in Yorktown, Victory Boulevard.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where the Kroger is, so I pass it quite frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jay.
Yeah.
We have new women's tag team champions.
We do.
Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler.
Oh, wait, nah.
That's about as much. It's not shocking. It's not. Yeah. That's about as much as I want to give to Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler winning the tag team champions on this podcast. So we can move along.
Right. Another new champion, Chris Statlander, who came out of nowhere and ended Jade Cargill's undefeated streak after Jade had beaten Taya Valkyrie on Double or Nothing. She accepted an open challenge, or she announced an open challenge, and Chris Statlander went and beat her pretty quickly.
I've been calling it since she got hurt. Chris Statlander was going to be the one that took the TBS championship off of Jade Cargill. I knew it. They were building it up right before she hurt her knee. That's why Jade Cargill, no disrespect to Jade Cargill. She had an incredible run, 500 days undefeated. She defended the championship 22 or 23 times successfully. She was 60-0, but I'm convinced it was dragged as long as it was until Chris Statlander came back. And as happy as I am, because I love Chris Statlander. She's one of my favorites in AEW. You could have done this on Wednesday.
And I mean, having Jade lose that quickly after having such a long streak, I mean, like.
I know. I would have rather her won the match in like a 10 or 12-minute match on Wednesday, the Dynamite after. She could have gotten a nice pop for that Vegas crowd. But instead, she wins the title at Double or Nothing, and then right after, because she's just back from ACL injury, her second ACL tear in like 2 or 3 years. Different knees, but still. And you put her on a match against Nyla Rose, and she defends the title.
Right.
Nyla Rose isn't very safe in the ring either, so.
I think storyline-wise, I would have preferred, like you said, have it happen on Wednesday and have Jade do an open challenge on Wednesday. That way, like, hey, I wasn't prepared for the match. I wasn't expecting her, but you have like a better, longer match instead of You know, having somebody who had an undefeated streak lose quickly.
after defending the championship quickly.
Yeah.
It's not like she had like a 37 long match with Taya Valkyrie where they hit 27 finishers on each other.
Right.
It wasn't that long.
Yeah.
And honestly, Jay, that was the reason why Chris Statlander didn't get my good for this week, because I just didn't like the way they booked that. And,
Yeah.
and honestly, since we're on the topic of it, we might as well just start talking about Double or Nothing.
Okay.
I haven't watched it. I don't feel like dropping $50 on a pay-per-view unless CM Punk is fighting actually, I want to see CM Punk in Kenny Omega and I Quit match, and CM Punk staples Kenny Omega's mouth shut. But that would be the only time I would drop $50 on another pay-per-view for AEW. But I have seen clips. I've seen what happens. I know what happens. And from what I gathered, it was one of the worst pay-per-views people have ever seen.
The one match people seemed to like was the Four Pillars match. But the fact that the sparklers during the super kick, like,
So I have to
what, go.
I have to tell you this. You're gonna laugh at this. So I think it was Tuesday. Yeah, it was Tuesday after work, and Nicole and I were talking about wrestling, and she goes, "So you want to talk about the kick heard round the world?" I go, "Which one?" She goes, "The super kick." I said, "Which one?" She goes, "There was another one." She goes, "I was talking about Jimmy Uso. Which one were you talking about?" So I pulled out my phone, and amazingly, in like 12 seconds, I found a GIF or some kind of a short clip of Matt Jackson delivering a loaded sneaker and hit an exploding super kick on Jon Moxley. She has been married to me for almost 2 years, and that was the most disgusting thing that she has ever seen.
When Tim texted me about it, I was like, even if they tried to give me context, this would be the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. At least when they do like final deletion and things like that, and they're lighting off fireworks, at least they're at like a
Yeah,
house. And you're dealing with crazy people who are shooting fireworks out of their hand.
right.
And it's like going, okay, well, that's that. But like,
All I know is that I woke up Monday morning and Matt Jackson was trending on Twitter. Number one when I woke up. And I happened to look, and it was like 6 o'clock in the morning because, I'm up at that hour now. So I go on there and I see it. And I said, what the fuck is this? He hit him with an exploding super kick. And what makes it worse is he got a 2 count. So let me get this straight. I have to. I have to do Steiner math here. Okay, so I gotta put this all together. So I need to understand this. You're telling me that Jon Moxley is gonna stay unconscious in a ring that exploded the way it did and had to get carried out of the arena. But when Matt Jackson super kicks him with an exploding shoe, he gets up after 2. Somebody needs to make this make sense. The only
Well,
thing that
do not have Scott Steiner's home phone number. He's the only one who possibly can.
the only thing that made sense in that Anarchy in the Arena match, because believe me, I definitely, I watched that. I made sure I found that and watched it. I needed to watch that dumpster fire. I needed to see how quickly Jon Moxley bled. Didn't take long. I just want to know. I mean, everything about that match. The match was stupid. The super kick was stupid. The lead singer of the band that was singing Wild Thing was painted in blackface. They kept singing the fucking song while the match is going on. They sang it a third fucking time. The only time I ever cheered for any of the Young Bucks to do anything was when they super kicked the lead singer for that band. I can't do it, Jay. I keep trying to give Moxley the benefit of the doubt because I was a fan of his in WWE when he was Dean Ambrose. I like the fact that he's going away from the grain because he was the star. Nobody, people might not remember this, but he was the big guy that they got 4 years ago with that first Double or Nothing when he came out and attacked freaking Kenny Omega. He is their MVP. I can't do it anymore, Jay. I just can't. And why is Wheeler Yuta, of all people, getting the win? Wheeler Yuta. And then the fact that Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryanson, is gushing over Wheeler Yuta in the post-match scrum that they had. Jay, I think Wheeler Yuta is a fine wrestler, but he's got the personality of a piece of paper. He kind of reminds me of like he's the little brother that's kind of hanging around with his older brother and his friends because his mom made him. That's how he fits in with the Blackpool Combat Club. Jon Moxley fits in because you think of combat and you think of blood, so obviously Moxley's there and he's dressed like a freaking war veteran. I mean, yeah, you think of Bryan Danielson because he's arguably the best wrestler on planet Earth. And then you got Claudio Castagnoli, probably the most underutilized wrestler in the history of the industry. But then there's Wheeler Yuta.
Chris Brown saying that Double or Nothing was booked after Tony Khan smoked a bowl of crack.
No, he was Tony Montana in Scarface at the end of the movie. That's where he was when he was booking Double or Nothing. Because I don't even really want to talk about the train wreck that was Chris Jericho and Adam Cole, baby. Because it was bad. Jay, I keep trying. I've been watching Dynamite more. I've been trying to, I've been staying up later and watching Dynamite, and I'm trying. It's hard to support a wrestling business. And don't get me wrong, AEW has a bunch of really nice parts. Obviously, I said that Chris Statlander is one of my favorites. I love Orange Cassidy. He's probably their best book champion right now. I think the Best Friends are cool. Danhausen's great. I love Powerhouse Hobbs. Ricky Starks is awesome. I love Ricky Starks. But as long as Twinkle Toes and the Buckaroos are still in AEW and Jon Moxley is bleeding, and surprisingly, he didn't bleed on Wednesday. I watched Dynamite. He didn't bleed, surprisingly. But I can't. I just can't. And their fans don't help.
So one thing for me that I'm just thinking about, they officially announced on Wednesday that CM Punk is returning to the company at AEW Collision And you know what my brain is thinking? They're putting they're putting a lot of eggs in the basket of Collision. What happens to Rampage? Are people going to be like, the important stuff's happening tomorrow. The important stuff happens Wednesday. What Rampage is there.
They're going to have to do, if they want to keep Rampage relevant,
Viewers.
But they want to keep Rampage relevant. They either have to move it earlier, so it has to be from like 7 to 8 on Fridays, or move it to Thursday. Those are your only options. Because it's not in a good spot. Nobody wants to watch wrestling for another hour after they just watch SmackDown. And people are especially not going to want to watch Rampage after they watch SmackDown, and then they tune into the greatest wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
Or everyone's favorite wrestling podcast. The GOAT of podcasts. But I'm glad you mentioned it, because one part about Wednesday made me laugh. Because they showed the Bucks in the back, and they were all beat up and everything, and they were talking about what happened. And they were like, oh, Kenny Omega's not here. He's not in Canada, but he's out of the country. And then Tony Khan made the announcement. And right after, they're like, and the Young Bucks left the building. I was like, did they leave the building before or after Tony Khan's pre-taped announcement? Because it would be funny as shit if they left because he made the announcement that CM Punk was returning. I just want to be a fly on the wall when the announcement was made, if they were around. That's all I want. That and to be a fly on the wall the day Kenny Omega signs with WWE and cross paths with Brock Lesnar for the first time. That's it.
And allegedly, Tony Khan is trying to get new contracts done with the Bucks and Kenny. So
I just want to know how injury-prone, almost 40-year-old Kenny Omega is going to withstand a WWE schedule.
He's not.
I can't see him going there. I'm sorry. Not with the schedule. He's going to take one look at that schedule like, I'm going back to Japan. Good. They could keep him.
Speaking of Japan and CM Punk, right after CM Punk made the announcement, he was already challenged. And you want to talk about injury prone? After the challenge was made, I heard that this man broke his finger and is out of action. His name's Kenta.
Get out of here. No, he didn't. He didn't get hurt right after he made the announcement. Oh. I mean, it would have been funny if you were like, he dislocated his jaw making the announcement. Because I would believe that.
But he did say, I want to challenge CM Punk on AEW's Collision show.
They're gonna have a crutch on a pole match.
But we do have Forbidden Door the next week, so we may get that match. Although, I mean, if Kenny and the Bucks are going to be at Forbidden Door and Punk is at Forbidden Door, I hope they like Kenny and the Bucks will have like the first match of the night, and Punk will have the main event.
No, of course, because it's not going to have Kenny in the main event.
Right.
You know what I want for the main event for Forbidden Door? I want them to do something with like Okada and the rest of the guys he won the trios titles with, and like Tanahashi or Naito or something like that, and they go up against CM Punk and the Elite. Make the four of them work together against Okada and a bunch of guys who are going to beat the shit out of the other three.
Right.
So that when Kenny goes to make the tag to Punk, Punk goes like this and walks away. I just want chaos. You know this.
Yeah. Yes. Well, but I mean, it's been long rumored. What are your thoughts on the official announcement of Kenny or CM Punk returning to AEW?
June 17th, 8 o'clock. What is it, TNT, TBS?
TNT.
I will be glued to my television to see CM Punk come back.
Okay.
I have a feeling if the people that they are rumored to have, and I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but if the people that they are having rumored be on the show, I'm not going to have any reason to watch Dynamite. I'm going to watch freaking Collision every week. They're going to have Miro. They're going to have Samoa Joe, CM Punk, Powerhouse Hobbs, Orange Cassidy. And if CM Punk is like the focal point of Collision, you and I both know damn well Danhausen's going to be on Collision once he is back from his torn pec.
Right.
Because that is CM Punk loves that dude.
And you know the champions could go on whatever show, so MJF could show up there, and CM Punk has unfinished business with the AEW title.
Yep. And
has past issues with MJF. Whether or not they're going to book that right away, I don't think so, but
if they really wanted to,
happen.
If they really wanted to, the way that they booked the ending of the Fatal 4-Way match, where Jungle Boy was laid out and MJF put the title on top of him when Darby went to do the coffin drop, and then he pinned Darby, MJF pinned Darby. If they really wanted to, they could make that the main event for the title at the next pay-per-view. There's still something left in that. There's nothing you could do really with Sammy Guevara. I mean, congratulations on him having a kid.
Yeah.
Or that Tay Conte is pregnant, I should say. But there's nothing you could do with Jungle Boy. He's a lost cause. He's got no person. He's got great in-ring ability, but he's got no personality.
And he's got to grow up.
Dylan would not be happy with you.
No.
Neither would your dad. I just, that was one thing I thought of with the main event, because I was or not the main event, the co-main event. I was almost positive. I'm almost positive I even made it my lock was that Jungle Boy was going to eat the pinfall in that match. So the fact that they did Darby, I haven't stopped thinking about that. It's been in the back of my mind. They did that for a reason. And I don't know what the hell they're doing, because I know that they could do a bunch of different things, after a pay-per-view. But the fact is that your idea for Darby Allin is you're going to have him in a tag team with Orange Cassidy to go up against two of the three guys that are associated with Brian Cage and Swerve Strickland. The NBC, I think they are. Whatever the hell. They have some weird, crazy tag team, these guys. And the Embassy. But, why is Darby Allin teaming up with Orange Cassidy?
Yeah, what about Sting?
Sting, who came out on Wednesday. And another thing on Darby Allin I want to mention really quickly. He's very smooth in the ring. He's very quick. He could do a lot of the spots that a lot of the guys can do and everything, but he is crisp. He was he did one of those tope suicidas through the ropes. He didn't stick his arms out. He kind of put them to the side. He shot through those ropes so clean. It was like a swish in basketball. It was crazy. I really do. I like Darby Allin too. I really do. He's a lot of fun, and I really would like to see him actually get a one-on-one match with MJF.
I think the reason why he could do that is because he's 5'5" and about 125 pounds. Maybe.
Yeah, but Marco Stunt's not doing that, Jay.
We don't know that. I mean, but we know that Marco Stunt for at least a little bit was the guy before you faced the guy.
Well, that was because Marco Stunt was the guy that you would fight after QT Marshall, after you would fight 3 local competitors. Then you would get to the final boss.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to grab something real quick. I'll be right back.
All right. So during the course of that match, though, with the four pillars, Darby did do a move on MJF, and MJF during the post-show press conference did have some sort of sling on his arm. And it's been reported that whatever happened to him in the ring is not going to cause him to miss in-ring time, and it's not like he wrestles all that much, but he basically, I think Darby went to do something off the top, and MJF's arm got caught, but apparently no break, and we will continue to see MJF on AEW TV.
Well, technically, Jay, if he really wanted to, he could just call his buddy Cody Rhodes and see if he can get that exoskeleton cast that Cody wore in his match against Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, and I think he might have borrowed that from Cowboy Bob. Probably put in a call to Randy, said, "Hey, your dad still have that cast? Oh, it's on. Can you have him take it off like he did back in the day, and I'll just borrow it?" Thanks.
It's so funny that all these years, 40-something years later, that is the epitome of what being a nefarious heel is with milking an injury. People to this day, because Cornette even mentioned it when he was talking about the match from last weekend. He had mentioned, he goes, it was Cowboy Bob-esque, and I'm like, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So also on the good news note, Omos got married this week.
Shit.
Yep.
As an Homos sapien, congratulations to Omos.
Good for you, Omos. Wish you well and happy life, and hopefully, I hope you stay married to the same person forever.
Agreed. And I am happy for Omos. I like that dude. And just, it's not because he's gotten a lot better in the ring. He's actually, I've heard him talk and I've heard him do interviews. He's just a really nice dude.
Yeah.
And I always appreciate that, just because I know that there's been wrestlers who are not so nice. Whether, they just choose to be, or some dipshit at frickin' Circuit City sold them the wrong portable DVD battery extender.
Probably what injured him a few months ago.
That's why his voice was the way it was.
Yeah.
He was screaming about me in the parking lot.
So on what I would put on the interesting side of things, Gable Steveson did an interview this week, and as he put it, and I quote, flourishing in his WWE training. We have not heard that from anybody within the Performance Center, but according to him, he is flourishing. But he is still thinking about performing next year in the Olympics. Flourishing. He was drafted to Raw 2 years ago, and
yeah.
How many appearances as a superstar has he made? And flourishing.
To be fair, Jay, he got to drink with Randy Orton.
Yeah.
But yeah, flourishing. His brother's flourishing. Let's be serious. Damon Kemp is flourishing. Gable's.
I hope that he is starting to catch on, and I hope he is starting to flourish. But man, oh man, flourishing.
That man is flourishing like Hulk Hogan selling Foreman grills.
Maybe that could be part of his gimmick. Flourishing Gable Stevenson. I'll get you closer to flourishing. All right, so I'm gonna file this one under smart person saying really, 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 really stupid thing.
Ooh, that's a lot of reallys.
Billy Corrigan, owner of NWA, lead singer, songwriter for Smashing Pumpkins, came out this week and said, if you're not a fan of Tyrus, you're not a wrestling fan.
I have to show you something. You're going to laugh. Hold on.
I don't think that Tyrus is a bad performer, but when you come and make outlandish comments like that, come on, dude. It's like, you know, there are folks out there that would say that WWE is not professional wrestling in any way, shape, or form. I would disagree with them. Like there are several flavors of like for instance, I appreciate the high flying stuff of the luchadors, but I don't like the storytelling of their matches because a lot of the times it looks like when they're performing some of the moves, you could tell the other person is like doing the stuff.
Yeah.
And it takes me out. They do like 95% of the match that I think is outstanding. But there's this 5% that I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know, and Malachi Black is one of those folks who, 95% of his match is awesome, but then he'll do the thing where he takes like a knee to the face and then acts like it didn't happen. But just because I don't like that aspect of what he does, I don't like professional wrestling. That's kind of what Billy Corrigan's saying. If I don't like Tyrus, I don't like professional wrestling. And it's like, if you listen to Billy Corrigan talk, usually he's a really smart, articulate dude. This is about the dumbest thing I've heard out of his mouth.
Well, I understand why he said it, because he's trying to do what he can to defend Tyrus because of the fact that Tyrus is who Tyrus is. A 50-year-old, extremely overweight dude who occasionally shows up on Greg Gutfeld's show on Fox News.
Now, if people dislike Tyrus because of his political beliefs, like, yeah, as far as what he does in the ring, like, you need to separate that. Whether you dislike his views, that's fine. But, like, I could just dislike him as a wrestler. Doesn't make me not a wrestling fan.
It's because of the fact that he was the Funkasaurus, and now he's the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. But speaking of which, I have to show you this because I've been trying to find a good time to show it, but
Wow. All right.
you know how I got this?
No.
It was a birthday present. I'll give you 1,000,000 guesses. I bet you're only going to need one of who was the one who actually sent me a Tyrus action figure. And I love it too. It's fucking awesome. I always appreciated the Funkasaurus.
Was it Malu?
Close. You know him very well.
Oh.
We refer to him as the GOAT, El Diablo Blanco. He just, because we were just talking about Tyrus, because I know Tyrus from wrestling, and he knows Tyrus from the Greg Gutfeld show on Fox News. So he was looking for some action figures, and he came across the Tyrus one, and he ordered it and sent it to me for my birthday.
Oh, look at that. El Diablo Blanco.
El Diablo Blanco. But
Chris, we're going to have a Roman Reigns-sized celebration for you for your birthday in 2 weeks. Or are you trying to ask the brainless one to send you the Tyrus action figure for your birthday?
Yeah, we won't talk about the brainless one's last birthday.
Yeah.
It was a very, very dark day for me. And it was bright as a bitch outside, too.
Oh, so, not that we're totally off Double or Nothing. So a couple of little things I'd like to get to with that. So this year, they did not quite have $1 million gate. Last year, they had 14,500 fans in attendance at Double or Nothing. This year, they had 10,500. A lot of empty seats. I mean, 10,500 is, that's nothing to sneeze at, but certainly not, 14,500. Last year, that was the infamous main event with CM Punk and Hangman Page, which was kind of the start of the beginning of the real difficulties between Punk and the Elite and even Hangman for that matter. Where Punk was like,
empty-headed dumb fuck.
oh, hey, Hangman's trying to mess with the first $1 million gate this company's ever gotten. And ironically enough, I think this is the first pay-per-view since then that they haven't gotten $1 million gate.
What would you expect? I'm telling you, I've seen what the ratings have done on Dynamite. Whenever Kenny and the Bucks are in the main event, the numbers tank. I don't know why. It just happens. It's amazing how they get 900-something thousand people to tune in to watch Orange Cassidy defend the All-Atlantic International Championship 24/7, and it could be against Big Bill or El Diablo or,
Blanco.
Or, Luchasaurus or QT Marshall.
Dino Man.
Daniel Bryanson.
Yeah.
And then they get to the Bucks, and they get to Kenny, and then it goes right in the toilet. Your title match wasn't the main event. It was Anarchy in the Arena. And I love what MJF said because they asked him in the press scrum why or what his thoughts were about not being in the main event. He goes, I wasn't going to be in the main event. I wasn't going to wrestle in the main event in Jon Moxley's blood.
That's a great response.
I have never heard a smarter answer in my life, in wrestling at least. But that's the thing. The Elite don't do it for people. Yes, they have their cult followers that they have that like watching dudes who wrestle 9-year-old Chinese girls and blow-up dolls and guys who put explosives in their sneakers and super kick people. But that's not for the casual fan. They're not doing anything to grow their base. They are capitalizing on are the fans of the Bucks and the people who do the Japanese shit and the fans who just cut off WWE because they had enough of what Vince McMahon was doing. You're not bringing in the casual fan. I know that we're diehards because we've been watching it for a long time, but AEW's only been around for 4 years. Have they really done anything? Because it's now been 4 years since the first Double or Nothing. Have they done anything to really get you to go, damn, it's 8:00. I have to put Dynamite on?
There's been a couple of times where I've been like, damn, I got to put Dynamite on. Specifically, when Jericho was Le Champion, with a bit of the bubbly and all that jazz. I still come back to when it was just Dynamite. It was actually a really good show. but because Tony is, making sure he's running on all cylinders at all times. I'm not sure if all the brain function is working at the same level. But when you now have like 5 hours of shows that you're going through and you're running, a football team and running a different type of football team, and you got other stuff going on, you start to wear thin a little bit.
That's what the cocaine's for, Jay. Just ask Herb Abrams.
Exactly. I mean, clearly that was Tony Khan's hero. I'm wondering if when JR retires, we're going to get Tony Khan on commentary. But one thing I will say is if Tony Khan was not succeeding on some level, he would not have gotten the money deal that he just got from Warner Brothers Discovery.
They might like Coke too, Jay.
Something right. I believe, if I'm remembering right, the original, like when they first started Dynamite, they were expecting somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think, like 350,000 people to tune in, and they had been consistently like
800.
So, I mean, that's over double of what the original expectation was. Have they been growing? No, not really, but they have a consistent level of fans. They have enough of the people who really don't want to watch WWE, that like Kenny and the Bucks, like Moxley, and like, some of the different parts, the land of misfit toys there. That they got enough of those people tuning in every week where Tony Khan was able to, get allegedly a $1.5 billion deal over like 4 or 5 years. So he's doing something right, but he does need to lay off the cocaine, amphetamines, crack, and magic mushrooms.
You know what else he has to lay off, Cousin Jay?
What does he have to lay off of?
He needs to stop doing these announcements every single freaking week. I'm sorry. This one on Wednesday, I kind of get, although it was kind of silly to announce him for the show, probably because you wanted the extra boost to the numbers for the sales for the tickets. I get that. But he should have been like the surprise to show up. This was after a week where you announced that it was in Chicago. And then the week prior to that, you made the announcement that you were going to make an announcement in regards to a new show. I mean, this guy is crazy. I mean, he's doing all these things. He's got all these announcements. So it got me thinking, you know what I would love? Besides, less announcements from Tony Khan, if some of these announcements were good. So I actually came up with a list, a top 10 list.
Oh, yeah?
A top 10 announcements I want to hear Tony Khan make.
Hey.
Number 10, how about none?
Okay. Hey.
Number 9, The Big Show has turned face and heel once again.
That sounds good.
Number 8, after his performance at Double or Nothing, I definitely had to put this one on my list. Number 8, he announces that Jeff Hardy has retired from professional wrestling. If it wasn't for the fact that I just recently watched his match against Sting, I would have thought that was the worst match I've ever seen in my life. And this was after earlier this week I saw him take that bump when he had that match against the Hardley Boys, where he did the swanton off the top rope outside onto the stairs. But, yeah, he needs to retire. Number 7, we will no longer be doing the originals Outsider storyline. I hate the fact that I'm not even the only one that actually hates it as much as I did for the way that they did it. But, nevertheless, number 6, he traded linebacker Josh Allen to the Giants. Wait a minute, why is that there? The other Josh Allen, unfortunately. Number 5, Jeff Jarrett is now in charge of booking. Number 4, Chris Jericho is the GOAT of GOATs that is goated more than GOATs have ever goated in the history of GOATdom. That's what I want to hear in an announcement.
Right.
Number 3, no more QTV. Sorry, everybody. Tony Khan here. I just wanted to let you all know that I canceled QTV. Now, if y'all excuse me, I got some Coke I got to go get. Number 2, and this one definitely, I can't wait. I hope that he makes this announcement. Number 2, Danhausen is returning. And the number 1 announcement that I want to hear Tony Khan make, Twinkle Toes in the Buckaroos are no longer all elite.
Okay. All right. So Chris Brown has a birthday top 10 request list. So this is 2 weeks from now.
So 317?
Yeah.
What do we got? Let's hear it.
Top 10 ways Tony Khan can ruin the debut of Collision with his shitty booking.
Tony Khan ruins debut.
Yeah.
Collision. Shitty booking. Oh, this is going to be easy and fun.
All right. So Chris Brown saying, now why can't Hunter do the same with Miz TV? Speaking of The Miz is actually getting the first title shot at Seth Rollins this weekend at a house show, which makes me believe that that's who we're going to see go against Seth Rollins Monday night during the Open Challenge. Call me crazy.
Okay, I wouldn't put it past him. I think that's a. I know that the Miz is 0 for the century this year, but he has a lot of foul tips. But that's a hell of a first feud.
Has more victories than the Miz does this year. Baron Corbin has 1, although he might get a couple more down in NXT now.
Now, if he's just wrestling Carmelo Hayes,
no, he's going to lose that.
they should have him fight Von Wagner in the loser leaves WWE Forever match. And I like Baron Corbin. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually one of the few that actually likes Baron Corbin.
At this point, it almost seems like that match would be better off if it ended in double DQ.
That should be better off if I hit Von Wagner in the head with a chair and he gets hit with End of Days and loses. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, I mean, we did talk about Double or Nothing. One thing I wanted to mention during the Anarchy in the Asshole match, one Don Callis came out near the end with Takashita, and they turned on the Elite. Don Callis and Takashita. And on top of that, Don Callis came out on Wednesday on Dynamite. And honestly, when I heard he was actually going to talk on Wednesday, that's why I tuned into Dynamite. I love me some Don Callis. I might be another one of the few that actually likes that dude. I was a fan of his in ECW. But, my God, Jay. You remember that night in Seattle when Elias pissed off the entire state of Washington?
They couldn't hear
That's how loud it was on Wednesday. Fans were posting the videos of Don Callis talking on the microphone. You can hear him decent on the, and you could tell that the crowd was kind of drowning him out on Wednesday. But some of the fans were posting the video. You couldn't even hear Don Callis on the mic. That's how nuclear that crowd was. I loved it because he ate that shit right. He handled that so perfect. If you want to know how you could get a reaction from the crowd and just egg them on and just keep it going and just, that's how you do it.
What?
One of the things he did, though, he was mentioning Takashita. He was like, this guy's going to be better than, I forget who the first name was. And he's like, he's going to be better than Inoki. And he's going to be better than Baba. And he's going to be better than, there was another person. And whoever it was, Takashita was like, no. And he was like, he's going to be better than Muda. And Takashita's got this look on his face like, not going to be better than Muda. But I think it was crazy because he was, saying this kid's going to be the next big thing. I said he was going to be the breakout star of 2023. I'm curious to see what they do. I really, really hope they don't put him in that Blackpool Combat Club. And whatever him and Don Fallis are going to do, just let it be something different. Kenny, you ruined my family, so I got a new son.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what they do with that. I really am.
Cool. All right.
Would have liked to have seen.
We hinted and alligated against Night of Champions. Do we want to get into that a little bit more, or do you want to just go to the end-ish?
Oh, I mean, we could touch base on a few things. I had 5 quick points I wanted to mention from Night of Champions. How shocking was it that Bianca Belair dropped the title to Asuka?
Honestly, this was like Buster Douglas beating Mike Tyson, shocking for me. I figured Bianca had another long bit to go. I know that they said they specifically wanted to turn over stuff in the record books. Bianca recently passed out Becky Lynch for the length of title reign, but I figured that since we just got this Asuka match at WrestleMania and Asuka lost, and it didn't feel like there was this big wave of momentum for Asuka, that it didn't feel like the right time. But I come back to the idea that WWE wanted to create a moment for the crowd, and specifically, I think the women who were in the crowd, to be able to see a title change hands, having a women's match. They had 3 women's matches. And one thing that has changed since that first women's match, they actually allow them to dress more similar to their character's attire instead of straight black.
Right.
Which is good. But it just didn't feel like the right time. I guess if you were deciding whether it would be more appropriate for Bianca to lose the title or Rhea, it would be more appropriate for Bianca to lose because she's had the title for over a year. So,
yeah, I agree. I just, my only thing I didn't really like was how Asuka spit the mist in her hand and rubbed it in her face, and that's how she distracted her, kicked her in the head, and pinned her. I ended up watching the match, and I was not alone when I watched the match, and I will say I have never seen that child more upset about anything on the television than when Bianca lost the title. She was very, very disappointed. Even with me trying to explain how Asuka had to cheat to beat her. I was like, see, Bianca's so good that her opponent had to cheat to win. She still lost and stormed off. Another point that I wanted to mention. Seth frickin' Rollins is the world heavyweight champion. Like we said, I don't think there was anybody out there in WWE that could have exemplified being the first world champion. The guy that's going to be there everywhere, anytime, any place to defend that championship. Since last year's Royal Rumble, Seth Rollins has been the MVP of WWE, and you can't change my mind.
I think a not so distant second would be Sami Zayn, who got a thunderous ovation at this show. And he certainly seemed very moved by everything that happened. He did an interview talking about he had seen relatives he hadn't seen in 25 years. He had found out he had a relative he didn't even know existed, and a lot of it had to do with all the unrest in the region, and I'm glad that the political temperature has died down enough where his safety is not in question. So I was happy to see the clips of him having those moments.
Yeah. Another point. Was I the only one bothered that Natty Neidhart got squashed in the SmackDown Women's title match on her birthday?
Maybe. I know Chris Brown definitely predicted it, but I think I might have also mentioned, like, yeah, I think this might be a squash match.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was her birthday, but maybe because it wasn't her hometown, but they're like, oh, it's her birthday, she shouldn't win.
I
It
just
lose in the most humbling way possible.
honest to goodness, if she had gotten squashed the way she did, I wouldn't have cared. But the fact that it was her birthday, that's just bothersome. How are you going to do that to somebody on their birthday?
Were you
That was like my
by that is when they didn't allow Zelina have a match on 9/11.
Yeah, I would say pretty close to that. I would say they're pretty. I'd say a little bit more so for Zelina, just because as bad as that was for Natty Neidhart, at least her friends didn't take her to TGI Fridays and the people sang to her, like some of my friends have done to me in the past.
All right, Mike Rainey's saying I would have been perfectly fine with AJ or Rollins as the champ.
Agreed.
Same. I think the difficulty would have been with the way they drafted between the two shows. If AJ went, back to Raw, does that mean the whole OC goes back to Raw, or was it just AJ? So there were strange things like that afoot. I think they just wanted to get the best match they possibly could, and they're like, on AJ and Seth Rollins, yeah, that's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another point that I wanted to make from that, man, is Cody Rhodes. Like, I've never seen anybody go toe to toe with Brock Lesnar twice the way Cody Rhodes has. And I'll tell you, I was completely dumbfounded by the way that they did this because they just randomly had Brock Lesnar attack Cody Rhodes. Tell me they didn't have two back-to-back great matches.
I have not seen the most recent one. The first one was great. Apparently stopped bleeding as soon as they started the match in Saudi Arabia. I mean, only Brock Lesnar could bleed for 5 weeks and still be okay.
He had the Kimura locked in on that broken arm for a long time. And when he cinched it in the second time after he reversed the crossroads and he passed out, he's their guy. That's their biggest face right there. I know that, you could do the double switch and everything once he wins the title, and even Kevin Nash said you could. But you got to remember, this is the son of a plumber. He's the baby of the American dream. You could do it, but I can't see them doing it because A, he's number one or number two in merchandise sales, or like you said, Cena was the only one to beat him when he was on Raw. And he's built like a face. He had a chance to turn heel in AEW, and he didn't. He didn't listen to the fans.
The only thing I would say for that is if you do the double switch, you have now made it so, your top heel has now become your top baby face. So, and if Cody is, if part of the story is Cody, what if the real finish the story is Cody getting out of his dad's shadow. And the way he does that is becoming the villain. He's the American Nightmare, not the American Dream.
No, he's Homelander.
See, Homelander's a bad guy.
But he's portrayed as a good guy. Or is he the bad guy?
He puts on the good guy face, but he really is the bad guy.
Yes. And the last point I wanted to make about the Night of Champions. 2 words. And we mentioned it earlier. Sami Zayn. I have never, in all the years that I've been a wrestling fan, been happier for a human being than Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn went from being the underdog from the underground and begging for matches against Braun Strowman, to Mick Foley.
To being the Fidel Castro, the manager.
Yep. To fighting Johnny Knoxville and getting caught in a mousetrap. To having, are you kidding me? When you talk about the Bloodline storyline and how great it is, Sami Zayn should be nominated for an Emmy, and you can't tell me anything differently. I love the fact, because I was the other one. I watched 2 matches. I watched the Asuka and Bianca because have to be a father before anything else, and I watched the main event because I'm like, I can't not watch the main event. I'm sorry, this is too good. And he came out and he wore his garb and he came into the ring, and before what's his face? I forget the guy's name who was doing the introductions. Sammy grabs the microphone. Mike Rome, yes, thank you. Not Jim Rome, Chris Everett.
Right.
But he grabbed the microphone and he spoke in his language, and everybody's, oh my God. He got the pinfall win over Solo. He told Roman that it's starting to crumble and it's all his fault. I mean, Sami Zayn's going to win my Wrestler of the Year. I'm telling you right now, Jay.
And Tim was telling me while he was watching it that Roman broke character for a moment and actually gave him a smile and a wink.
That's awesome. I didn't see that.
So I mean that's I guess he must have did it as slickly as he and Brock at SummerSlam with the microphone.
Oh man, that was still one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. That was that was Roman's him moment. Oh, that was so good. But yeah, Sami Zayn, I'm telling you right now, Jay, that was just the more I watch Sami Zayn, the more I like Sami Zayn. And he's already in my top 3 wrestlers. So
yeah.
Yeah, everything he's gotten, he's deserved. He's been busting his ass. He's been doing some of the best work of anybody the last year. Yeah, Sammy's, for crying out loud, I'm convinced that Sammy's the reason why Saudi Arabia and Syria have started talking together. So they could bring Sami Zayn to Saudi Arabia to wrestle.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, those are my 5 points that I wanted to mention from Night of Champions.
Okay.
I just have I'm on last week's podcast. I just have a couple more things real quickly.
Yeah.
First things first, is Roman Reigns getting a new championship tonight?
I believe so.
I think so too.
I
think
titling it. Not only that, I've heard that the women's titles that they have are now going to mirror the men's titles. So they're going to have a female World Heavyweight Championship, and then the backing of the belt is going to look the same. The SmackDown top titles will look the same, and 2 Raw ones will look the same.
That's cool. And they got to do something because the fact that it's over a month since the draft, and Rhea Ripley's still the SmackDown champion on Raw, and Asuka's now the Raw champion on SmackDown.
Right.
All right. Another thing. Pat McAfee apparently has been talking to WWE for a possible return.
He was saying when he's been in his business discussions, whether it was with his uh, deal with FanDuel or the current one with ESPN, he would go to Vince and he would go to Nick Khan to get their advice and get their opinion on things. And he's kind of followed that to the letter. And he's certainly made himself a crap ton of money. And it has certainly endeared WWE even more to Pat McAfee. And it sounds like he's trying to figure out a way back in sooner rather than later. I guess
still
figure that all out, but I mean, he does have a newborn at home.
right.
I
But
don't know, being at ESPN, is he just still doing the show from Indiana, or like is he going to Bristol, which is in the same state as WWE?
I'm telling you, Jay, if Fox does not get that contract with SmackDown and they end up on ESPN, they're going to be all over that. It's going to be him, Michael Cole, and Daniel Cormier somehow. They're going to bring in Michael Cole for UFC.
You know what? As long as they don't have Daniel Cormier ref another match.
Right. Actually, I have two more things real quickly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. First thing, happy 65th birthday to the Total Package Lex Luger.
Should be a WWE Hall of Famer.
I mentioned it in my thing earlier this year. I would have liked to have seen him go in this year. But, hey, technically he's in the F and Marks Hall of Fame because,
yeah,
Class 13's in there.
Yeah.
He was the unsung hero because of his no-sell of the turnbuckle shot that he took from the Motor City Madman before he hit him with the loaded forearm before he pinned him.
Right.
Oh, no, he got him didn't he get him in the torture rack? No, he pinned him, right?
I think he pinned him with like a clothesline.
He hit him with the forearm.
And at that point, forearm was not loaded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you watch the documentary that was done on Lex, more or less his forearm got shattered it was like 6 months before his WWE debut. It got put back together. I forgot who the doctor was, but they weren't sure if he was ever going to be able to wrestle again, let alone like they thought they were going to amputate his arm.
Wow.
But it got put back together and the titanium was put in there, but they ended up using that as part of the gimmick.
Yes. Sold the hell out of that.
Yeah.
And my last topic today is the 34th anniversary of the legendary film No Holds Barred.
Wait. There we go. That's Rip 'em.
And probably one of Hogan's better films. That's not really saying much, but the fact that the WWE Hall of Famer Stan the Lariat Hansen's in the movie makes it that much better, as well as Axe from Demolition, who should be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
And also Debo,
who's in two of my personal favorite movies of all time. Friday and The Fifth Element. Oh, yeah. I love The Fifth Element. Such a great movie.
Yeah.
That's all of my notes. Do you have anything else, Cousin Jay?
No, I think I'm good.
Should we get into the good, the bad, and the brainless?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right, Cousin Jay, what do you got for your good for this week?
I'm going to go with Alexa Bliss. Sometimes life is full of happy accidents, and she and her husband seem over the moon with this oops, and good for them. And I hope, it's as pain-free as it can be and as stress as unstressful as it can be, and praying for a healthy baby for the two of them. Just super psyched for her.
Yes, I am very happy for her and Ryan Cabrera. My good. Originally, it was going to be Chris Statlander, but then Don Callis came out on Wednesday, and I had I had backlashes of when Kevin Owens and Elias were in Seattle and they shit all over the Supersonics. And it was, that was just masterful work. That was Paul Heyman-esque work that I saw on Wednesday from Don Callis. Because every time, it was great because he was trying to talk and they were booing so loud, he kept turning around and looking at the crowd and trying to talk and looking at the crowd and trying to talk. And he would say something and it was awesome. And I don't really get many options or opportunities to give my good to AEW, so when I can, I do. Granted, it's a clean sweep, but What do you got for your bad?
All right, so there was a bit during a match with Saraya and Britt Baker. It looked like they were having a soft slap fight. It reminded me of when the Dark Order had that brawl that looked about the fakest thing I've ever seen in my life. But Britt and Saraya, not only did they do the light slap thing, and then they went to do a series of moves, and they're either they couldn't hear each other, their timing was off, somebody wanted to make somebody look bad. Either way, it was trash. It's the type of thing, honestly, that will turn people off.
Yep.
And when I saw it, I'm like, wait. It was my bad for this.
I thought the same thing when I saw it. My favorite part was the fact that it was a quasi rematch from the pay-per-view because it was Colin Baker versus Jericho and Saraya. So, my bad for this week goes to Jeff Hardy's performance at Double or Nothing.
So he got a nothing.
I'm just saying. I should have looked to see if that was on AEW's Botches account on Twitter, because I'm certain it is, with Blue Heaven playing in the background. Because it's the best part about every video on there. There's other songs, but that's the one that always sticks out because it's just so funny because it fits so perfectly. But yeah, Jeff Hardy needs to retire. I'm sorry. And he gets my bad for this week.
Okay.
What do you got for your brainless?
I'm going with Billy Corgan. If I don't like a particular performer, that
Funk is on a roll.
From being a wrestling fan, I could just happen to not like the performer. I honestly don't have anything against Tyrus. I don't think he's great. I like it. I was entertained as heck by him as the Funkasaurus.
Oh, yeah.
I honestly that he was more of the badass that he was when he was the bodyguard of Del Rio. I thought I think that would have been a better overall character for his career. But don't try to tell me I'm not a wrestling fan if I don't like him. It's just foolish.
I agree with that. And I think that I understand why he's trying to do it, because he's trying to get some of this negative off of the fact that Brodus Clay is the NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah.
And a Fox, and just like the governor of Virginia is a Fox News correspondent. Glenn Youngkin, who's going to be the future Secretary of the State when what's his face from Florida and Abbott freaking from Texas are running this shit. I have no idea. I'm not gonna get into it.
But
But
anyway, what is your official brainless?
my brainless is the Anarchy in the Arena match.
All right.
Moxley bled. The match was shit. We got a fight. How do you have an exploding super kick and get a 2 count? You're not fighting John Cena. There's only 2 people on planet Earth that would have kicked out or should have kicked out from an exploding super kick like that. Number 2 is Hulk Hogan, and number 1 is John Cena.
Yes.
And then apparently Wheeler Yuta stabbing Kenny Omega with a screwdriver was enough to get him to get pinned.
Yeah.
Everything about that match, the band playing throughout the time, the lead singer with the blackface, the exploding boot, freaking the Wheeler Yuta getting the pin, not good.
It's like they had New Jack in the ring, where
Yes.
he just music playing.
That would have been different. It would have been
Rip.
better too. You know what? Before we get into the last part of what we wait on. I screwed it up. So, if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time fan or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and marks. If you'd like to follow, subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications so that when we are live, you will be notified that we are alive. And also make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify. So in case you missed the live show, you could go and watch it or listen to it on the road with you. Yeah.
Before we get into the last part,
Yeah.
I was asked yesterday because the other day, for some reason, Mike Pence and Governor Chris Crisco,
Yes.
have announced that they're going to be running as Republicans for the presidential election.
Yeah.
So the effing wife, Nicole, asked me, when are you going to announce your candidacy for the election of president in 2024? And you know when I told her? I am taking this opportunity right now on the F and Marks podcast to announce that I, the brainless one, will be running for president of the United States in 2024.
Okay. Now, are you going with the slogan "Make America Brainless Again"?
Yes, MABA. I don't care how close it is to MAGA. Make America brainless again. And my big thing is going to be, can't be any worse than the last 2.
True.
Just saying. Because one's a lunatic and the other one is the lunatic's grandfather.
Right.
So get ready, Jay. I'm going to need you on the campaign trails. I hope you can do good against Kamala Harris. And I have no idea who Trump's going to pick if he gets it. But I'm sure you can take out Greg Abbott, too.
I think it's going to be Tim Scott. Tim Scott, who's also running for president, but I think he's more running to be somebody's vice president.
It's going to end up being Youngkin. I can't do any worse than what he's doing as governor. And he's not worse than where you were this last weekend in Danoland.
Needle Nose Ned the head.
Ned Lamont. The second worst governor in the history of this.
Ned Lamont.
You don't know Ned the head?
Almost got the shingles and didn't graduate. Bing. And I dated your sister once until you told me not to. Bing.
Bing.
I did the whistling belly button trick at the talent show. Bing,
Bing.
again. Hey, did you go pro with that belly button thing?
It always blows my mind all these years later when I found out that he was in Spaceballs.
Yeah.
He had a very, very brief part in it, but he was in Spaceballs.
Yes. He was also in Basic Instinct.
He was also in Californication.
Yes.
Second best character on the show after the Jewish friend of David Duchovny.
Right.
I forget the dude's name, but he was fucking hysterical on that show.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it, Cousin Jay.
Yeah.
I think
Nothing more to talk about.
yeah,
We are done.
we talked about Double or Nothing. We talked about Night of Champions. We mentioned Alexa Bliss's pregnancy. I think we've touched base on everything that happened in wrestling this week.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing else to talk about. I mean, Roman Reigns, I mean, he just passed 1,000 days. It's not like anything can beat that.
Like I said, as impressive as it is that his 1,000 days is gone as 1,000 days. But let's not kid ourselves. There is one thing out there that just dwarfs Roman Reigns and his 1,000+ day reign as champion.
What's that brainless one?
Well, did you know, Cousin Jay? Today, June 2nd of 2023, at an astonishing 3,050 days, F. Mark's Hall of Famer is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Bow, 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 bow.
It still melts my cold heart that he retweeted us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, for episode 315 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the FM Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
Brainless.
Hmm.
1. Make sure you mark out.
With your guac out. See you, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Next week's episode's the Austin episode. What?
Yep.
Swig of beer for the working man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah?
What? All right.
Later,
See you,
everyone.
Brain.
Later, Jay. Yeah?
Yeah.